Hey guys, today we're going to take a look at my Living Dex collection in Pokémon Home, where each Pokémon come from the game they originate in, such as Pokémon Yellow, Pokémon Violet, and even Pokémon Emerald. Let's take a look! Alrighty, so many of you may be asking, what is a Living Dex? Well, a Living Dex is where you catch one of every Pokemon, and basically that's it. Specifically for this challenge, I took from Birdkeeper Toby, or as he's known now, Lorekeeper Toby, Challenge Series, the Master Dex. Each Pokemon come from their game of origin, such as a Squirtle from Red and Blue, Rayquaza from Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, etc. You get the gist. The challenge that I decided to go for with my Living Dex is to make what they call a Living Form Dex. A Living Form Dex is where I catch one of each form, one possible for Pokemon. So you got Dealing with the different seasons, Deoxys with its different forms, you've got the regional variants. All of these count towards the Living Form Dex. So you need to catch each and every form. Something that I skipped out on for now is the gender differences. Now, Pokemon Gens 1 through 4 have many Pokemon that have minute gender differences. I didn't really go through and catch each and every one of those for this challenge, but I did catch Pokemon where they have drastic gender differences. So think of Frillish Line, or the Meowstic, or Indeedee. Pokemon like that where they have bigger differences. I think at some point I will do a gender dex, but I'll use the remakes of games to catch all those Pokemon. Anyway, let's go! Alrighty, today I figured I'm gonna just go over Pokémon Home and the collection of Pokemon that I've been gathering over the past few years for my complete Living Dex. I deposited a shit ton of Pokemon, and that's not including the hundreds that I released. I don't know, I just cleaned a lot of waste that I transferred from Pokemon Go, or just Pokemon that I had sitting in there that really I didn't need to keep. Just stuff I got rid of from Sword and Shield and shit that has no value whatsoever. Anyway, let's begin. Just go to the Pokemon Home. Alright, so starting with Kanto. So I've been trying to do this Living Dex challenge, and so obviously start from Kanto. So all of these come from Red, Blue, Yellow, but also in order to get multiples, I did use Crystal to hatch some eggs of the starters and whatnot. You might notice something particular about this first Bulbasaur. Being that it's shiny. I'll get into that a little bit more specific later, but yeah, right off the bat, my Living Dex starts with a shiny. But, I went through, of course, each starter. So basically all the Pokemon here comes from the Kanto region, in the good old days, where they have the little Game Boy mark. And basically, that means I got it on the 3DS Virtual Console versions of Red, Blue, and Yellow. Trash Man. Yeah, I named a Pikachu Trash Man because I think at the time I was doing a Nuzlocke way back when, and so in this Nuzlocke I was having to give them names, and I named it the Trash Man based off of Danny DeVito's in that one episode of It's Always Sunny, where he's like, "I'm the Trash Man. I go around, I throw trash all over the place." Alright, that's it for this box. But, yeah, a lot of Kanto Pokemon. But, I think for the sake of time, I'm, not gonna go over and, like, highlight each and every one, unless there's something specific. I mean, a lot of these, you know, like I said, they come from, the older games, from the Virtual Console. So yeah, I'm just gonna go over each box, and if I have something to say about a certain Pokemon, I'll probably mention it. But yeah, this, oh my god, this took so much time, and I'll probably show it off here. Like, I think this one, yeah, this one is actually from, so I started, like, doing this in 2023, if not earlier, because I think I did have to go through and re-catch everything for, Gen 1, because initially, I was trying to fill up the Pokédex for, both Gen 1, Gen 2, and I was initially going to try to complete each and every game's Pokédex, like, including the National Dex. But once I got to Gen 3, and, you know, they started giving the news, like, hey, the 3DS is preparing to shut down in a year, I'm like, okay, I probably should speed this up. I shouldn't spend so much fucking time, trying to complete every, Pokédex, because if I was doing that, by the time I got to Gen 3, I'd have to, like, beat Colosseum, I'd have to beat XD Gale of Darkness, I'd have to, like, you know, beat Fire Red, Leaf Green completely, just in order to do that in Pokemon Emerald. But, yeah, a lot of it. So, I think, yep, here we go. So this one, the Shiny Gyarados, it says it's from the Kanto region, but it's because I traded it from, you know, Pokemon Gold. So, you know, it's that Lake of Rage Gyarados. I just brought it over, so that way it says from the Kanto region. So yeah, there's the Shiny Gyarados. And of course, this one, I'll get into, like, a little more detail about it, since I'm here. So, the Shiny Ditto, I got because there's an exploit in, I don't remember, like, well, I think it's all the Gen 1 games, where you can teach, I don't know if the Gyarados had it, yeah, teach a Gyarados Mimic. If you teach it just Mimic, you can, use it to learn Transform, and use Transform, the Ditto will transform into Gyarados, and then the Ditto has to use Transform again on Gyarados, and it'll copy the IVs, or whatever allows it to be shiny. I'll probably post videos in the links to showcase what I'm talking about, if you want to get yourself a shiny Ditto from the good old days in Kanto. Doing this exploit brings me into another thing that Gen 2 had, where basically in Gen 2, if you had a shiny Pokemon, breed it with other Pokemon, it increases the chances from, like, being the 1 in 8,000 or whatever it is for a shiny Pokemon back in the day to being like 1 in 64. So really easy shiny Pokemon hunting for Gen 2 if you have a shiny Ditto. I technically have two. I have the one that's obviously here in home, and I have one that's in my Pokemon Crystal, and that's why I have a shiny Bulbasaur. I wasn't even trying for it. It was just a pure accident. But it happened, and so, you know, I'll take it what I get. That being said, my next exploit is this. the shiny Mew. Listen, there's a whole glitch in the Gen 1 games, Red and Blue, where you can basically, I think it's called Code Injunction. Basically, you can get a legit Mew by doing this in Gen 1 that you can put into bank. Because if you just do the normal glitch to get Mew, you won't be able to bring it over into bank. It'll deny it. It has to have like this the Game Freak trainer ID and the 22796 ID number in order to go into Pokemon Bank and be transferred up. You also had to do Code Injunction to make it shiny, and that's just involves like this glitch called the 8F glitch, which I did it by watching Austin John Plays video guide how to do it. So
what's going on, everyone? Austin John Plays here, and today I'm going to be going over how you can get the event-only Mew for Pokemon Red and Blue on the Nintendo 3DS Virtual Console, and then transfer it all the way up to Pokemon Sword and Shield and Pokemon Home.
I'm going to post a link down to it below if you really want to do it yourself and get a shiny Mew. It is quite the process, and there's also the chance you can fuck up your save. So like, I know I was doing it, I didn't have any issues until I tried duplicating Pokemon in Gen 1. That's where I fucked up and lost my save. But I know, like, for him, he said something with the game messed up and he lost his entire save and he had to redo all the progress to get to the point where he could do the glitch. But yeah, shiny Mew for my living dex from the good old days. And of course, you know, now we're going into Gen 2. I think these might have the more accurate. Yeah, so I started doing this challenge like right at the end of 2021, and in the beginning days of 2022 is probably when I first started doing Gen 2. So obviously, like I'll show off here a little bit for this first box. You know, they all have my trainer ID. They all come from the Johto region in the good old days. So
what if?
Oh, here's a good fun one. So this is a shout out to my buddy What If Machine. When he was playing Pokemon Crystal, and we were talking about how he never used a Noctowl before on his team. So since he finally decided to use one, I decided that I was going to shiny hunt in Pokemon Crystal for a Noctowl. And with the egg chances being 1 in 64 thanks to the Ditto, took a while, but I did it. I have a lot of shiny Noctowls. It's one of my favorite Pokemon just in general, and I love its shiny. You know, I've hunted it in X and Y, I've hunted it in Oras, I've hunted it in, you know, Sun and Moon, I've hunted it in Scarlet and Violet. So, you know, I have a shiny Noctowl, but I've never caught a Gen 2 shiny Noctowl. I decided, let's go for it. I'm gonna shiny hunt it. And since I was watching, you know, his stream of Pokemon Crystal and we were talking about Noctowl, I decided to name it after him. So now, what if, congrats, you get a placement in my Pokemon Home box forever. So, congrats. But yeah, just, you know, a lot of, Pokemon. I think, yeah, the Igglybuff is also shiny. I think it's, this one's the odd egg Igglybuff that you get in Pokemon Crystal, which also, I don't remember if those have a 64% chance. I know there's like higher odds for a shiny Pokemon from the odd egg. If you have the means, it's a fun hunt to do, you know, so you can try and hunt some Pokemon. I know it's like basically all the baby Pokemon you have a chance to get shiny. You know, I wasn't even thinking about it when I was playing the game. I just picked up the odd egg and went on my way, and it turned into a shiny Igglybuff. So that one gets to be here in my living dex forever as well. Speaking of which, complete accidents, like the Bulbasaur, this Pichu, I realized I was going through a few weeks back that the Pichu that I had in my living dex didn't have my name as a trainer ID. It was Chris, which is, I think, my spare, like my trade copy of Crystal on my second 3DS that I used to trade between games on my main 3DS. I went to my main crystal save, got a Pikachu and bred it so that way I can get a Pichu with my OT. It was shiny, just by sheer accident. It was shiny. Yeah, you're gonna be seeing a lot of shinies later on down the road. I might have an issue. But yeah, all of these come from the good old days in Johto. I guess, yeah, I guess this is a good time as any to point out. So evolutions that that have Pokemon from an earlier gen, I always try to catch it from that original gen. So like Blossom, Oddish from Gen 1, but I evolved it in a later game so it can be a Blossom, but it still has that Met and Kanto from the good old days. So basically, like, if you see any of them, like, the Eevee and Espeon, you know, from the good old days in Kanto. From the good old days in Kanto. God damn, I can't speak. Sorry, folks. Unknown, I just have one sitting here for right now. We'll get to that a little bit later. But, yeah, just, you know, a lot of Pokemon, like I said, you know, good old day Kanto where it applies. I don't think I have many other shinies from Gen 2, but yeah. Just a lot of time. So like I said, let me check. Like Skarmory, when did I catch that? January of 2022. So like, you know, this has been something I've been working on for like past 3 or 4 years of my life. And I've spent so much fucking time into it. Of course, Celebi, you can catch in Pokemon Crystal. At some point, I want to reset my Crystal save on my second 3DS and play through it all so I can try to shiny hunt a Celebi for the Living Dex if the servers are even up by then. Again, a lot of this I rushed through in order to... or I say rushed, but I've been doing this for 4 years in order to be able to transfer them up into home before like the bank servers shut down at some point. Anyway, Gen 3, you know, just, you know, love the starters of Gen 3, but I don't really have any cool stories about a lot of Gen 3 Pokemon. I didn't really encounter any shinies. I will talk about... So back in like Gen 2 and Gen 1, the only thing you can get is Pokemon and Pokeballs. But starting with Gen 3, you'll notice that I'll start using different kinds of Pokeballs in order to catch Pokemon. I don't really have a rhyme or reason for most of the Pokeballs that I use, except a few Pokemon. But yeah, all of these come from Gen 3, spread throughout Pokemon Emerald, Ruby, and Sapphire. I think, in fact, Spinda, you know, has different patterns. I thought about doing a duplication glitch in order to get 2 of the exact same patterns, which, if you know, is really hard to find normally, because like there's a million different pattern opportunities for a Spinda. I just never did it, so whatever. And then of course, Zangoose. So what I did for Zangoose, it's a Pokemon Ruby exclusive. I'm pretty sure the copy of Pokemon Ruby that I have is a bootleg. So like, I wouldn't be able to transfer it up from that copy. So what I ended up doing is trading a Zangoose from Pokemon Ruby into my Emerald, and then I breed it for the games would think it's legit. So that's what I had to do with Zangoose. Always loved Solrock and Lunatone. I should have catch some in fancier balls. Now, Feebas, I've got a confession. I was not about to fucking sit for hours trying to fish for a Feebas again. So what I did is I just, one that I had for my childhood games, and also just got an egg from it, so that way it would have my trainer ID. So, yeah, that's what I did with these two. There was no fucking way I was gonna sit around for, hours or days trying to fucking find one in the original Gen 3 games. I'm sorry, I did not have the patience for it, and like I said, you know, time was running out, so... At least I thought time was running out, but as of today, Pokemon Bank is still usable, so we'll see in the future. But yeah, like I said, most of them all have my trainer ID. So this is where we start getting a little crazy. Now the luxury ball, you can only get one of those in these games. I didn't have a way to farm for those, but I like to catch my legendaries most of the time in luxury balls. So what I ended up doing was I used premier balls instead for Gen 3. You do not want to know how fucking long for me to catch all of these legendary, well, aside from Latias and Latios, I said screw it, Master Ball those suckers before they run away. But like, all of the legendaries I caught in premier balls from Gen 3. So this Jirachi, if I ever get my hands on it, I'll try to replace with the bonus disc Jirachi that you can get in Gen 3. But as of now, I'm just using the one from Gen 6 when they had the 20th anniversary mythical events going on. So that's just the Jirachi that I'll use for now. So for now, so here's mine from Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire from way back in the day. And then here's the other one. I named it Ashley because, you know, I was doing a joke. My character, when I was a kid, I always, like, called myself Ash in the games back in the day. So I figured Omega Ruby playthrough, I was going to play as a girl, played as May, but I called her Ashley because, you know, what's the girl version of Ash? Ashley. And plus, I think that's what they called her in that one episode of the Pokemon anime where, you know, he has to dress up as a girl to get into the Celadon gym, the original anime.
Good evening. We would like to enroll our daughter Ashley in your Pokemon training classes.
Nothing but the best for our little princess.
That's right.
At some point, the other two Deoxys come from the event Deoxys back in Gen 5. At some point, I don't know if I'll go back and play through fucking Omega Ruby or Alpha Sapphire 3 times to get them all to have my OT, because I'll be honest, that's a fucking grind, and I don't really have that much time these days to do that kind of shit. But anyway, Turtwig is the first Pokemon from the Diamond and Pearl games that gets to poke his head in the box. And yeah, so... Oh. Fucking every time. I always accidentally do that. Yeah, so these all come from the Sinnoh region. Got all my lovely starters. This is the Staraptor that was on my team, if you couldn't tell. In fact, I think that and the Infernape was on my team. I think I have a few Pokemon from my team in here, like the Luxray. You got the different forms of Burmy and Wormadam, because, you know, this isn't just, you know, a Pokédex for, and I should have said it more so with, like, Deoxys and some other earlier Pokemon, because I think I might have skipped over some shit, but, you know, for Deoxys, like, I have all 4 different forms in here, because, you know, there's 4 different forms, and I have to have all the forms for the Living Dex. So I have all the Burmy forms in here as well. Motham, fucking Vespercreen. Cherum, I think you can only deposit the, this form. You got the different forms of Celos and Gastrodon. Mismagius, of course, comes from the Johto region, like most of, like I said, like, they come from the region they originate in. So, you know, got some, the baby Pokemon, Munchlax, fucking Munchlax, goddamn. the different forms of Hippopotas and Hippodon. I'm trying to see if I can find any of my other team members. I think, yeah. I know I used Rhyperior playing for the game. Got the different Rotom forms. So fun fact, I caught this Rotom from my Platinum save, but then I didn't realize you could transfer the forms in, so I had to go back and catch one, and then I, hatched eggs in order to get the different forms for the living decks. So they're all from here. Gen 4 is kind of where I fell off from having them all in the same ball, except for Dialga and Palkia, Heatran, Regigigas. Like as I said, I like to try to catch the legendaries and luxury balls. Giratina, I caught in a dark bar though, because I just felt it was appropriate for my Platinum save. And I think that's a roaming, so that's why I used the quick ball, just to get it done and over with. The Manaphy and Fione I have in here are from fucking Legends at the moment. I don't know if I'm gonna shell out the money to get a copy of Ranger that still has a Manaphy egg in it. If I do, I'll probably replace them with those. Darkrai comes from an old event. Shaman from an old event. I don't know how I got this. I never had the fucking Diamond, Pearl, Platinum as a kid. It wasn't until much later on that I had those games. But somewhere along the lines, I came across Toys R Us event, Arceus, from the Sinnoh region back, from the original games. And I don't know how I came across it. It was just sitting in one of my Gen 6 boxes. I'm either assuming Wonder Trade or a friend sent it to me. I have it. That's like the only Gen 4 mythical that I legit have from back in the day there. Crazy shit. And of course, Gen 5 mythicals. A little more sketchy because, there's an exploit if you know how to do it. Like you change the DNS settings in your 3DS or whatever, and you can get access to all these old events. So Victini, I got for that. Snivy, Servine. I think this is my original superior for my Black 2 or White 2 playthrough. Yeah, from back in 2013 when I first played the games. As you can see, it had Pokerus. This one actually, means a little bit to me because it was one of my first starters that I picked when playing White 2 or Black 2 back as a kid. And then I think this is the one I use for I think for my Black playthrough. But yeah, another one from as a kid. And then this one was used when I actually played through the games again to get the living decks. So this is a more recent one. But like, yeah, it's cool how I have my original starters from back in the day on here. Of course, you got the monkeys who are just until Legends EA come out, are trapped on Home forever. Yeah, there's my pheasant that I use for my playthrough. There's the male, male, and then the female pheasant. But yeah, lots of Pokemon. So like, when did I do this? Gen 5. So a lot of these might be from like my original saves back as a kid. And some I, had to catch. Like this, I probably had that sitting in a box from when I was a kid. Same with Sock. So that's the cool thing about Gen 5 Pokemon, is a lot of it came from when I was a kid playing the games. But yeah, there's all the fucking Deerling and Sawsbuck forms. course, gender differences for most of these Pokemon as well. Shiny Haxorus, which you get for completing the black and white decks in black 2 and white 2, and I call it the Shiny Haxorus, and here it sits forever. Okay. So for these, they all come from the Pokemon Dream Radar app, which was the only way I think you could get them in Black 2 and White 2. And you know, you can only get I think you can only get like certain ones. You have to have both versions in order to get all three for the original Black and White. So I just said screw it, and I played through Dream Radar twice. Some of these, let me see. I think these ones, yeah. This one is from like my original copy as a kid. You can tell the difference. Like, yeah, 2013, 2022, 2013, 2023. You know, so it's kind of cool that I still have those. I wonder if these, yeah, 2022. I got in a, you know. Got them in the fucking luxury balls. Landorus 2013, 2023. Kyurem in a luxury ball. Keldeo from the event, and then you also got the Secret Sword form of Keldeo. So you got that Meloetta from the event back in the day. I wonder actually, some of these might be like my actual ones. Or maybe not. And then we get into X and Y. So, you know, you have your, I have the starters from that. Don't know if I have. Okay, I do have my original Greninja from my first playthrough of Pokemon X as a kid. Yeah, that was my starter back in the day. And then here we have the Battle Bond Greninja, which would turn into Ash Greninja in Sun and Moon. I don't know why they got rid of that ability. Or not ability, but they got rid of like the form. They kind of retconned it. I'm assuming part of it is because Ash is no longer a part of the anime. And so just to future-proof it, they just got rid of the form altogether, which is just dumb. Of course, we have a Vivian here. I'll talk more about them later. You got the two gender differences of Pyroar. Is this from my original save? Yeah, from my original save, level 80. I think I probably used it on my team, if I remember correctly. All the different forms of Fabebe. You know, got all of these little guys, pain in the butt to get. Got all the different forms of Float. And got all of the different forms of Florges. I wonder, I'm trying to think. I thought I used one of these on a team, but I could be wrong. You got Skiddo, Go-Goat, Pancham, Pangoro, Furfrou, which I may go back. There's different forms you can get with Furfrou. I think at like 8 or 9 different forms. We have all the different trims you can do with them, but you couldn't transfer those up from Gen 6 into Home, but you could with Pokemon Go, and I'll show that off a little bit later. I'm assuming I'll probably go back and catch a couple more Furfrou, since Legends ZA is coming out, and I'm hoping you can transfer them in from ZA, the different forms, and that way I catch them back in, you know, X and Y, but I get the forms in Legends ZA and have them in my living decks. The different Meowsticks, Aegislash, which I think this is the one. Yeah, okay, this one I used on the team during my playthrough recently. All these wonderful critters. Was this Malamar? Okay, I used him on a team recently. I always like trying to guess which one I used on a team, because like if it's a really high level, I probably used it in a playthrough. Like this, Tyrantrum. Yeah, used it in my most recent playthrough. Is this one? No, okay, most recent, yeah. Sylveon, of course, you know, got the Game Boy mark because it's, you know, from Kanto. The Dene's cute. Okay, all the different sizes of Pumpkaboo. This one's the Spooky 2014 event. I think I have another extra large one in my save, so I'll bring that one up at some point to replace that. But yeah, I've got all the different sizes of Pumpkaboo and Gourgeist. I also didn't realize this until recently, but depending on the size, the cry is different for these guys. I find that neat. They started getting more experimental with the cries going forward. You got Avalog, of course, Cernius and Yvelta, and, you know, say it with me, fucking Luxury Balls. Zygarde. So this one comes from X and Y. It's a default Zygarde. And then this one comes from Sun and Moon. Also has that ability, Power Construct, where it turns into 100% form, but it's in its 10% form. So I know some people like to try to get, you know, 2 of both. Well, one of the one from X and Y, and then one the 10% form, and one of the 50% form of Power Construct. But I just said screw it. I'm gonna flex. I got the Zygarde and a fucking Beast Ball. The only time I break my legendary rule. Of course, these Diancie, Hoopa, and Volcanion come from the original events back in X and Y. Sun and Moon time. And of course, you know, Sun and Moon was really where I started doing a lot of fucking shiny hunts. And you're about to see some of the mad shit I did for that. So here's a Decidueye that's shiny from Alola. Litten, Purrcat, Incineroar, Popplio, and this one's fun. So I was just patching. Like, I just needed some, you know, Popplio to evolve for my living decks, you know? So I was like, okay, hatch at least 2 or 3 of them to get for the living decks. So I'm doing that, and then just all of a sudden I'm like, wait, what? Is that a fucking shiny? And it was, so I accidentally got a shiny, not complaining. It gets to live in the Pokémon Home living decks forever now. But yeah, you know, all of the forms of Oricorio, Cutiefly. Now this one, oh my god. So the Rockruff line, I went a little crazy on for my living decks. So this is Rare Pepper. I met him back all the way that first year of Sun and Moon. I think one of the first SOS battles that I shiny hunted in. So that's where I got him from. Then I used him to hatch the midday form. And then, you know, the midnight form. And then I had someone kind enough to trade me over the Own Tempo Rockruff in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. And so I bred for that to get a shiny Dusk form Lycanroc as well. So the whole entire line, I have fucking shiny. And yeah, you don't want to know. Oh, let's see how long that took between shinies. Yeah, you can tell it pretty much took me the whole month of March of 2023 to get all of them. But I did it. I am committed to the bit. You know, you got Wishy Washy, all of these other fun Sun and Moon Pokemon. Type Null and Silvally. And then I got all the different forms of Minior. And of course, you know, I went out of my way because, like, all the forms are different. And so whenever, like, there's a different looking shiny form that does something cool, like with Minior, where it has all the different colors on it, I went out of my way to shiny hunt it and include it in the Living Dex form. So yeah, that took me a good long while to get. I have so many boxes in Pokemon Bank with just Minior abandoned on there for whenever the servers die. Of course, you got all the Tapus in Luxury Balls. Solgaleo and Lunala in Luxury Balls. Most of the Ultra Beast in Luxury Balls, except Guzzlord, because that one's a fucking bitch. Necrozma in a Luxury Ball. I got the Magearna. And then here is the Magearna you get for completing the Living Dex up until Pokemon Sword and Shield. You get this once you complete the Living Dex up until that point. So, yeah, here's my event Magearna that, you know, will go alongside the Alola Magearna. The Marshadow from the original event. I missed out. I didn't get Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon when it first came out because I wasn't really that interested. So I missed out on the original Zeraora. Unfortunately, the Sword and Shield Zeraora will have to do. I'm not complaining. It's another shiny for my Living Dex, but man, if I can find someday or find someone who has an extra Zeraora from Gen 7, I would love to have that be the one for my Living Dex. But until that day, Meltan, so Pokemon Go. Yes, I got them both shiny. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, shiny Meltan and Melmetal are really rare. You can only get shiny Meltan in Pokemon Go when they hold specific events where they have the odds for it being shiny turned on. Yeah, to have both it and its evolution shiny for my Living Dex is quite the pain in the ass. It's there. Okay, Sword and Shield. We're starting to get close to the end now. Nothing really too interesting to talk about with these. Because at this point, like, it's real easy. Here's a random shiny Dottler that I found. It's really one of the few Sword and Shield shinies that I actually got, because I just didn't like hunting in that game that much, if I'm being honest. I just didn't care for it. When did I find that one, actually? 2019. And it'd be quite a long while till I got another shiny in Sword and Shield. But, you know, you got Applin and its different forms. Of course, I can't fucking tell the difference, so excuse me if I can't tell you which one's which, but, you know, I do have both the authentic and the fake-ass fucking Sinistea and Poltergeist in here. Berserker, Cursula. Now that Mr. Rhyme, I had to get a Mime Jr. from the Sinnoh region. Mr. Rhyme actually comes from the Sinnoh region. And of course, I've got all the Alcremie that I need, besides the, all the Alcremie ready for when I'm, ready to take on the task of evolving them all into the fucking, like, 63 different forms. 70 if you're gonna be like me and be insane, and include the shiny forms as well. I'm not ready to do that fucking task yet. I'm assuming most of the Switch games will be fine in order to, you know, get them in the future. I didn't make it a priority to finish that for this video. You know, you got all the different fossils. this is where my living deck starts to get a little incomplete. So I need to play through one Sword or Shield again in order to get a Kubfu for the living decks. I just haven't gotten around to that. I don't want to. Here is the Forever Tarnished Zarude for my living decks. It's gonna have that fucking awful go symbol by it. The thing was, the way to get like regular Zarude as an event Pokemon in Sword and Shield, it was through like the Trainer Club email. And if you're someone like me, where you got screwed out of like getting a code to get a Zarude, you just got shit out of luck. Fortunately, I did get the Jungle Zarude for the Data Zarude form. So, yeah. So I had to transfer the one from Go in order to get the normal form. And if anyone can ever help me out to correct that, I'd appreciate it so I can get rid of this awful goddamn mark out of my living decks. Anyway, you got, you know, the new Reggies, the Calyrex Pokemon. Alright, here's where I start getting a little insane. So I shiny hunted a Stantler in Johto so I can evolve it into a shiny Weirder in Legends. Cleaver from the good old days. Ursaluna from the good old days. Blood Moon Ursaluna from the Scarlet and Violet DLC. That's a Nier. That's the only way you can get it. Basculin, I got the male and female form. And then I'm trying to get both shinies, but they're a pain in the ass to get. Sneasler is shiny. Overquill from there. I have to play the game again. I have to play like the majority of Legends Arceus again in order to get the other form, Enamorous. What are those forms called? The Mirror form? I forget what they're called. Anyway, Scarlet and Violet's up next. And this is where it starts to get real fun with the shinies, if you can't already tell. So here's all my starters. Lechonk had an outbreak. So of course I went insane and got the whole line shiny. Crash Hopper, which is a shiny low kicks, right? Yeah, low kicks. The Palmy line. I got the Mouse Holder 3 and a Mouse Holder 4. I got a shiny Fido. I got the entire Smoliv line shiny. And then, of course, I got a shiny green Squawkabelly. If you can't tell, the more recent games are so easy to get shiny. As a matter of fact, here's a whole nother few shiny lines. The Nagastack and Garnicle lines. The Charcadet line, I got shiny. Bellybolt is shiny. The Watchroll line is shiny. The Mastiff, Mapsos, the dog line is shiny. I got a Graffiti shiny. The Toadscroll line shiny. Cloth shiny. You can tell I probably spent a lot of time shiny hunting in this game. Bombardier shiny. The Cyclizar shiny. Earthworm shiny. I also really like the cries in Scarlet and Violet. They're just so weird. Especially this guy. Like, he sounds like he's in pain. Yeah, just a lot of shinies, if you can't tell. Donazo. And then I got, you know, the Tatsugiri with their shiny variants in here. Annihilate from the good old day Kanto, you know. Clodsire. Girafarig. So I shiny hunted a shiny Girafarig back in Gen 2, so I could have a shiny Girafarig. A Faraf... I don't know how to say it. But yeah, I got a shiny one of those from Gen 2. Trying to get a 3-segment Dunsparce. I got a shiny Dunsparce from Gen 2, and it evolved into a 2-segment shiny Dunsparce. So, still going for that Gen 2 3-segment, but I haven't had luck so far. King's Gambit from Unova. You got all the different Paradox Pokemon. Gimme Ghoul from Pokemon Go. All of the whatever you call these Pokemon. I don't know what the name is for this group of Pokemon. Koraidon, Miraidon, Walking Wake, Iron Leaves. And then the Pokemon missing here is Terrapagos. I need to add that to the home dex yet. Tiplin is... Oh, okay, I remember what I'm missing from this. The regional form, or like the different form of Sinistea and Polteaghost. I can't remember the fucking names off the top of my head right now, but I'm missing the authentic and the bootleg forms of those guys. I haven't hunted for those yet. And in this spot is for the missing Paradox forms from Violet, since I don't have the DLC for that yet. Once I get that, I'll eventually do that. But yeah, aside from like, these few boxes missing stuff, pretty complete living dex. Here's my unknown decks. All of these come from Gen 2. Well, except these two, which I played through the entirety of Fire Red just to get them from the game they originated in. So, yeah. So there's my unknown. Here's all the Vivian that I have. The Pokeball from Kalos. The original Fancy Pattern from Kalos. And then I had to use an exploit where I changed my 3DS's region of the world it's in order to get all of these different forms. So I have all the forms that are possible. I think I'm missing 3 of them, so I'll have to work on finding a way to get those 3 at some point. And then here we start having the regional forms. Of course, I got, shiny Vulpix line because I'm crazy and I just like shiny hunting. A shiny Meowth that I got from SOS Battling. I called him Mr. Kitty because Mr. Kitty is quite sassy. And, look at that Meowth. That Meowth is sassy. Mr. Kitty is sassy. Perfect name for it. And anyway, yeah, here's all the Alolan forms. All the Galar forms of Pokemon. And of course, keeping with the theme, if I can catch it in an earlier game, I catch it in that early game, evolve it later on. So I did that. The Hisui forms. Shiny Typhlosion from my old Gen 2 games. So that was another hunt I did. But now it's a part of my living dex forever. And yeah, just all the, this one's from Gen 5, Samurott. But yeah, just, where, if and when possible, just get all the forms. And then here's all the Paldean forms, which thankfully there's like only 4. So there's all the forms of that. Okay, so this box has most of the event Pokemon that I've gathered throughout the year. That's at least in home and not on my 3DS yet or whatnot. But this one is really special. Because this is my fucking Mew that I got from going to Toys R Us back as a kid I think it was an event for like Pokemon Lucario and the Mystery of Mew. That's why the Trainer OD is mystery. But yeah, I went to an actual Toys R Us to get this Mew as a kid. I'm glad I still have it. Wasn't for the shiny Gen 1 with the origin mark that I have in my living decks, this would probably be the Mew that I keep there. Of course, so I try to put all these events in the order that they came out, technically. So, these are just all the event Pokemon that I got throughout the years. I'm a little pissed. I'm missing the Articuno for the shiny Galar Pokemon because when they first started doing that, it wasn't real clear on the rules. So you were supposed to do 3 battles online in order to get the shiny legendary birds, but I didn't know that for the first round, so I missed out on Articuno. So I only have the second 2. But yeah, you got all the Pokemon. Yeah, so we got Ash's Pokemon from the anime. I think I missed out on Surfetched when that came out. So I'm missing that one. We got Shiny Eternatus. And I think that's really all the event Pokemon that I have up to date. I think there's a few in Scarlet and Violet that I have to dig out and put into this box, but yeah, this is most of the event Pokemon that I have. This box, so fun fact, if you played Pokemon Black and White, you could connect it later on to Pokemon Black 2 and White 2. So that's what I did. And when you do that, you can catch N's Pokemon that he used from his playthrough in Black and White. So this box has all the possible Pokemon you can catch with N's trainer ID. And then also in this box is the in Pokemon Dream Radar, if you had the DS games in your 3DS when you played it, you can get Pokemon, the legendaries, from that game, from Dream Radar, in special little events. So I went ahead and just caught each and every one that's possible. Some of these, like the Ho-Ho, is from 2016, from when I first did Dream Radar. But yeah, so I have all the possible Dream Radar Gen 4 game legendaries. So, like, that's the special Gen 5 box, basically. Okay, so who wants to go to the ranch? Basically, every generation's kind of had its own Pokemon storage system. Back in Gen 3, there's the now very, very expensive Pokemon box, which I believe you could only get from going to a Nintendo store, which in the States, I think at the time back in Gen 3, was like maybe in New York City. So you had to go up there. I don't remember if you can order it online, but yeah, Pokemon box, you could, you know, store your Pokemon from Ruby and Sapphire in those games. But then, you know, Gen 6 had Pokemon Bank, Gen 7 also had Bank, and then obviously nowadays we got Home. But back in Gen 4, they did this little chibi thing where you had an application on your Wii, My Pokemon Ranch, and your Mii would be the ranch person, and you had the owner of the ranch, Haley, who would ask you to find these different Pokemon throughout the week. And she would bring her own Pokemon in. And when you would find Pokemon, if she had the Pokemon in her ranch, you could get her Pokemon. Back when I was doing Gen 4, I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and get all of Haley's Pokemon that you can get from My Pokemon Ranch. So that's what this box is all the possible Pokemon you can get from that doesn't belong there. That doesn't belong. don't know what that was doing in there. But yeah, these are all the possible Pokemon you can get from My Pokemon Ranch. You get some pretty cool stuff like that. A female Combi. And of course, once you got like 1,000 Pokemon in your ranch, you got Mew. So that was a big incentive for My Pokemon Ranch, is a way to get Mew back in those days. So I got the Mew, and I also got the Fione. I don't remember what number of Pokemon you needed to get Fione. But yeah, so I have all the My Pokemon Ranch Pokemon in home here. So it was just another weird little challenge that I wanted to do while doing my Living Dex challenge. Of course, I got all the different Ash Hat Pikachus. I know they first came out in Sun and Moon, but I have them all in Sun and Moon, but I want to keep them on those games just because I feel like, well, one, you can't get them back in those games without methods, I'll say. I mean, you can get this one. This one, you can always get Sun and Moon with a QR code. But all these other ones... All these other ones you got in, can get in Sword and Shield. So that's what I just opted to do, is have all the Ash Hat Pikachus from Sword and Shield here. And that's pretty much covers the extent of what I have in home. Let me check. Here's all the old trades from Gen 1. And at some point, I would like to get all the possible Shauna trades. So once you beat the main game of X and Y, Shauna will trade you her starter, like, had an egg. So she'll trade you an egg with her starter, and it'll have a nickname. Like, this one is Kinnykins. I think I'll try to get, like, the other two, the Chestnut and the Greninja. You get them as like a Froakie and a Fennekin and stuff like that, but you know, I'm not gonna go that crazy with that Pokemon. Some of my original ones that I kind of had to swap out once I got them from the older games. Let's see, is there anything else worth noting? I think this is just Pokemon from Sword and Shield Extra. Here's some of the Furfrou forms that I was talking about that you can only get in Go. Like I said, I'm hoping once the Legends ZA comes out, we'll be able to, like, you know, put them in there and take them out with the forms. Oh, this box is the Pokemon that you get from special events and, you know, just linking certain games with Pokemon Home. So these are all my Pokemon Home Pokemon that I have. But yeah, so that's that box. Some shinies from Go, yeah, and Legends. And some more shinies. And another Mew. Oh, that's the Game Freak from the... That's just a regular Mew from the good old days in Kanto. But yeah. So, that's my home. I figured I'd talk about Pokemon Home as well on mobile phone. They have a few challenges that you can do on here. So basically, I've tried completing a lot of them. A lot of the main ones I know I can beat, like in this main category. A lot of it I already did. Really, the only ones that I haven't done are the ones that require trade, because I don't really have a lot of people to trade with, and you gotta have someone you can trust to touch trade with you, so that way you make sure you get your shit back. Anyway, with that said, thank you for watching this video if you made it this far. Comment below to let me know what you think of my Pokemon collection. And also just let me know if you have one of your own, if you are trying to get a living dex of your own going. I'd love to hear it. Thanks again for watching, and have a groovy day.